Welcome to Dog Training Bytes. The show where canine professionals share their key takeaways, big aha moments, and hardest lessons learned from working with dogs. I'm Mattison, certified dog trainer and behavior consultant, and dogs are my life. Every day I get to coach guardians and other trainers into a deeper understanding of canine behavior. But let's face it, sometimes dog training really bites. And that's okay, because when it does, we learn a lot. This podcast is all about sharing the lessons learned from experience, because the stories of when it got tough or when we made a mistake, that's when we learn the lessons worth learning. And it's time we share those with the world. I'll be talking to dog trainers and other pet professionals about times that working with dogs, well, bit. Not literally. Maybe literally. What's most important here on this show, what did they walk away with? What did they learn? How did it shape their approach today? Welcome to Dog Training Bytes, the show where pet professionals share personal lessons that you won't find in any textbook. Today, we're talking to someone who is a rare individual willing to commit themselves to the human side of the leash, Jessica Adams. Jess is a licensed professional counselor who brought together her love of animals and mental health with her coaching framework designed to support both guardians and professionals navigating the human side of dog training. Through her business, Handlers and Humans, Jess brings over a decade of experience as a therapist and her experiences of living with and loving a reactive dog to her coaching programs and courses. Hi, Jess. It's so nice to have you here and to finally get to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I would love to kind of hear a little bit more about Dio and how this all began.
So, the love of my life, who is about to turn 10 this
Oh,
weekend, actually, in a couple
happy
days.
birthday,
I
perfect
know.
lad.
Oh, my angel. He changed everything for me is the nutshell version of the story, but he came to me on a complete whim when he was 6 months old. I was 25, 26, something like that. And he was not a dog that I wanted. So I always like to start with that. Like I was not expecting, first of all, a dog at all. Second of all, a dog that was that young. Third of all, a dog that had some challenges that I was completely not ready to navigate. Had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. Was not prepared at all. He has some reactivity challenges. He has had some resource guarding challenges. He's an anxious guy. Of course he is because he's mine. And, we just mirror one another in those ways.
We sure do.
Oh my gosh. He is incredible, though. I'm so proud of him. We have accomplished so much together, and it has just not been an easy road at all. But he's loving life being a house dog who I tried to make a therapy dog at one point, and it didn't quite pan out. So
Didn't happen. That's
no,
okay.
I had all these grand plans for us, and we have landed in just like such a beautiful, collaborative, loving
Yeah,
space.
he's really a partner for you in that
Yeah.
way and was really a huge inspiration for your business and your
Oh,
programs.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is the reason that this exists. And he's the reason I've made so many amazing connections over the 10 years that, he and I have been together, I guess, and
Yeah.
made so many awesome friends. And it's just been an amazing journey. And aside from that, he has carried me through the most impactful decade of my life, from getting divorced to getting remarried to becoming a professor to becoming a therapist to having children. I mean, all of it, Dio has been the constant. So I'm just so grateful.
Kind of carried each other through,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I am very excited to hear the story that you brought for us today to share with all the dog people out there.
Yes, absolutely. So I will tell the story of why I don't have a therapy dog and I'm a therapist who wanted one.
Okay.
That was where I kind of wanted to start with it, because I think
Yeah.
it really plays into the idea of expectations and how much that impacts our life with our dogs and our ability to connect to the joy of having them. And whenever I work with clients, that is probably one of the biggest pieces that I see getting in people's way of their own sort of emotional experience with their dogs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I mentioned before, I really, really wanted to have a therapy dog to take to work with me. I worked with kids and teens primarily, especially at that time. And I just thought that would be such a cool fun, unique, different thing to bring to my practice. And I went to an adoption event kind of on a whim with my partner at the time. Dio was the only puppy who was there. And so, of course, we were drawn to him. Well, my partner was drawn to him. I was looking for a slightly older dog, but
But he had all the good, adorable
all the
puppiness.
cuteness, plus with his
Yeah.
crooked ear that he already had,
It
all those
just
things.
sucked you right in.
It sure did, especially my partner at the time, because he was like, I want this one. And I was like, I don't know. He looks like a pit mix. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with it, right? Like all the,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the assumptions, all the things. So I talked to the rescue folks who were there and I said, listen, I'm really looking for a dog who will be suitable to be a therapy dog, right? That's something it feels really important to me.
Yeah.
I'm new to this, never had a dog as an adult before, etc. Their response was, he's young enough. You can train him to be anything, go in any direction, right?
Sky is the limit, right?
So me knowing less than nothing, probably, I was like, oh, okay, he's young enough. Training creates the dog.
It's everything. Yep.
Yep,
It's the only thing that matters.
Right.
It is the
I had
single
no
piece
idea.
to the puzzle.
Exactly. It's all we have to focus on.
Right.
So off we skipped with this puppy home. And this is the
little Dio.
little baby
Floppy,
Dio with a crooked ear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is how unprepared I was. And I want everyone to know that I'm so transparent about this. I had to drop them off at home and go back to the pet store to buy supplies. I didn't have a bowl.
Which,
I
by
didn't have
the
a
way,
leash, nothing.
That's the right move, because I have literally told people the exact same thing, because there's no way around the fact that sometimes dogs are going to come into our lives. We're not going to have things already. Don't take your brand new puppy to the pet store. Don't do it.
Oh, God. Yes,
Don't do it. Drop the puppy off at home. Get somebody to watch puppy. Do not go right from the shelter to the pet store. That is not how desensitization or socialization works.
I am so happy that I made the right move in that moment.
You did.
Yes, I did. I left.
Yep.
He needed a bath badly, so he was getting hosed off in the yard before he was allowed in.
Right.
So at that point, when I went out and I got the things, I got the food, I got the, all of it. So fast forward to year 4 of life with him, right?
Okay.
I had been doing all the things, and I mean all of them. Socialization classes, individual, group, like everything you can think
checked
of.
all the boxes. Yep.
Yes. Because pretty quickly after getting him, I started to learn about reactivity and what reactivity was, and learned that dogs can be anxious and dogs display their stress in these specific ways. And so I realized, wow, we're going to have to put in a lot of extra work to get your dog can go anywhere with the training that I was sort of led to believe right in that moment that I could do. And I'm proud of us because, we passed the evaluations. We passed the therapy dog evaluation. We passed the CGC.
Wow.
We got there. It took us 4 years and a lot of tears. And that is a lot
of frustration.
So much.
Probably a lot of really, really great training sessions, but probably equal number of frustrated tears.
Rough ones, really rough moments. Absolutely those moments where I hit a wall and was like, I don't even know if I can keep this dog in general. Like, aside from the fact that he may or may not become what I envision and hope, and I don't even know if I can have him, right? Like it was a tough time for sure. So we passed those things, and I was like, okay, we passed it took us 4 years, it took us thousands of dollars, all the things, here we go. I started taking him to work. And Dio is very good with adults and teenagers. He's not so good with the bouncy little ones. And there were a lot of bouncy little ones in the office in which I worked at the time. I didn't really know that about him. And he started shedding dander extremely. Like, he's a black dog. He'd be covered in white dander when we would leave work.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant. I took him to the vet. I was like, something is wrong with his skin.
Right. He's allergic. He's allergic to work.
He's allergic to work. Same, buddy, I guess. But I had no clue what was going right. And so the vet was like, I think he's stressed in those settings, right? Is that happening when you just take him to work? I was like, oh my God. Well, because then I realized this is only happening the days that I take him. So we worked really hard. We passed the things. We had, reactivity to deal with, all the stuff. And then we get there and then it was not for him.
Yeah.
So I tell that story. That's the story that comes to mind for me. I know it's very specific to this, like I wanted a therapy dog and all of that, but really I think it's applicable to the idea that we all have, even if we don't mean to, an
Mhm.
expectation of what life with our dog is going to be like when we get them.
Mhm.
Every single one of
Before we
us.
get them, which is
Yeah,
even
before we get them. Right.
worse. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, right. We don't even know that dog that's coming into our lives, and we envision already what that's going to be like. And that is how I entered into my life with him. Didn't help it was on such a whim. It didn't help that I was so unprepared. But I think honestly, the most impactful piece of that was the fact that I had this idea that I would have this work partner and I would have an animal assisted therapy practice and all of those things. I did equine therapy, I did a lot of that stuff, and so it was like, oh, a dog would be incredible. And so when I'm working with folks, I see them get so tripped up on those expectations, even if they think they've let go of them and even if they think they've overcome them, they still just like they just creep right back in and get to us. So
yeah,
that was a story that I feel like is, it gets to all of us. It happens for all of us. And we have to have a practice of coming back over and over and over again to what are my expectations of my dog in general? What are my
mm-hmm.
expectations of myself? What are my expectations of us as like a collaborative pair? And am I being fair to us? Am I being, reasonable to us? And how is that impacting my emotions and how I show up for my dog?
Yeah. I'm not sure that the expectations that have settled into the sort of general public knowledge of
Mm,
dog ownership, I'm not sure that those are setting any of us up for success.
I think that's such a good point.
The myth
Absolutely.
of the perfect dog and the impact that social media has had
Mhm.
in conveying this razzle dazzle before and after
Yeah.
magic trick,
Yeah.
leading people to believe that either the perfect dog exists or that, like you said, it's as simple as a before and after training. I'm just
Hmm.
going to flip a switch. And if I participate in training, everything's going to be better.
Hmm.
Sometimes it really is just a lack of having a better behavior. And in that case, training does
Sure.
resolve a lot of problems. And when we come across that, we're like, oh, this is
The
gonna be pretty
easy
quick.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see any real emotions under the surface. This dog just doesn't know what to do.
Right.
But when you have those emotions under the surface, it just what success might look like for you ultimately may not
Mhm.
even align with the expectations that you had,
Mm.
right? And so yeah,
Yep.
I think there's an exercise in letting go of these false images that we've built and then falling in love with the new potential for success because
Hmm.
it can still be really great and really fulfilling for a life for you and this dog, even if
Hmm.
it doesn't match with what you originally thought success
Right.
would look like.
Absolutely. I think I love how you said, fall in love with the potential of what is there and what you can get to with them. Because at the end of the day, if you separated those expectations, you set them aside for a moment, chances are you love your dog regardless. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be listening to
I
this.
wouldn't be here,
Right?
right?
Right? So
Exactly.
so if you can kind of pull that apart, right, and get underneath the expectations, you can stay and you can stay connected to the things that you just really do love about them and start there and reconnect to that over and over and over again. And it is a practice. I mean, there are still to this day times that I'm like, oh, Theo, yeah, buddy,
Oh
we're
yeah.
we're still doing this. Like, we're still this is okay. All
I think
right.
everybody has those moments with their dogs
Sure.
of,
Oh my
are we doing
gosh.
this? Okay.
Right. So we still struggle. He's still, regardless of the sort of quote unquote behavioral progress that we have made over time, he's still a reactive dog. We still have those moments. They're different than they used to be. They're less frequent than they used to be. I feel so much more able to manage them both in the moment and also within myself than I used to, but I still have a hard time. I still go to my
Yeah.
own community and say, "Oh, we had a rough walk," and
Yeah.
have those conversations. But every time without fail with the one-on-one clients I work with, it's expectations that's where we start in the
Yeah.
conversation about when they are struggling to cope with their dog's behaviors, when they are having a lot of really intense emotions about their dog's behaviors, there's an expectation floating in there somewhere that is contributing to that. And so it's not maybe you didn't have these like very grand goals like I did. Like I'm gonna have this like incredible therapy dog, right? Maybe you just wanted a dog to be going on hikes with you, or you wanted a dog, that would love to lay with your kids on the couch or what, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
But the fact that that's still there and we're not always checking in with it and picking up on where it's showing up for us, it just trips us up. It gets in the way of our ability to connect with the dog that we have and bond and find joy with the dog that is in front of us, regardless of their, again, quote unquote, behavioral challenges. With a reactive dog who is 10, I find so much joy with him after having let go of those expectations and realized he's not going to be a therapy dog. I'm not going to put him in that situation. I'm not going to try to work him through that level of stress that he was clearly feeling when it just wasn't for him. That was for me that I wanted that,
Yeah.
you know? So that doesn't mean that I don't have a joyful life with him that I am so grateful for.
So I know in your case specifically, letting go of that and then finding ways to fall in love with new possibilities led to, a whole organization and program and community and things like that. But on a maybe day-to-day practical level, what are some things, what are some practices that an owner could do to kind of help themselves let go of that kind of rigid previous thought about what success might be?
The word that comes to mind is play.
Oh,
Honestly, for me, that is
heck
to me,
yeah.
yeah, right? That is the most, in my limited non-dog trainer
It's so
view.
much easier than I thought you were. I thought we were gonna have to do like serious inner work. We're like,
Oh
you just
no,
want me to play? Let's
I
go.
want you to play with them, play with
Let's
your
do it.
dog,
Oh my
play
gosh,
with
I love
them
that.
as much as you. I'm getting goosebumps saying this. Because
Yeah.
the moments that I put my phone down,
Mhm.
grab his toy,
Stop trying to check off
just
boxes and accomplish goals and
whatever,
just
right,
get in there.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I
Just get in
love
there
that.
and see him have that moment of joy brings me the joy. Like, it's just this. I mean, have you ever watched your dog run around and be so stoked to be running around, and it just fills you up so much to see that for them?
Yes.
You can access that anytime. And the more
Mhm.
that you access that, the more connected you're going to feel to the dog that you have,
Yeah.
right? You don't
Yeah.
have to have 20 acres or take them to the sniff spot every single time, or right. People make it complicated. We played tug in the living room while my kids' toys were everywhere, and I was trying not to step on them this morning for like 10
Right.
minutes before I
Yep.
started working. And
And
he
he
was all
loved it.
wiggly, and I loved it. And we had a
Mhm.
great moment together this morning. And now he's snoozing in bed, and it started.
Everyone feels good. Yeah.
Everyone started their day from that
Yeah.
space, you know?
I
So
love that.
I don't know. It's, yes, do the inner work,
But
uncover your
also
emotions, but
play.
just like if you're gonna do nothing else, play
Oh,
together.
I love it. That is such fantastic advice. So, Jess, I would love for you to tell the dog people out there about your community and the ways in which they could work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love doing one-on-one work. I do individual coaching sessions for folks who are struggling with their own emotions about their dog and what's coming up for them. And I also have a group community program called the Complex
Mhm.
Canine Community. In there, it's discussion boards and posts and exercises and mini courses and all those things that you can dive into with other people who really, really, really get it. And we have 2 live group support calls with me a month where you can bring the things you're struggling with. We do
Yeah,
activities together, all sorts of things. So that is one of my favorite things to do, is to do our live group support calls. We have people from all over the world joining
I
it. So I'm
love
really
that.
excited.
I
Yeah.
would love to maybe snag a little seat and kind of jump in
Yeah,
and
please.
spy one month.
You
So,
should. Yeah.
okay, I would love that. All right. Well, you can connect with Jess on Instagram at Handlers and Humans, and you can find more information on her programs and community and a link to work with her in the show notes. Thanks for joining us in the world of Dog Training Bites, where every challenge brings a lesson worth sinking our teeth into. See you next time. Dog Training Bites was created, produced, and edited by Mattison Simpson. You can connect with me on Instagram at Dog Training Bytes, that's BYTES, and at Freed by Training. For information on today's guest and resources for help with your dog or dog training education, visit www.dogtrainingbytes.stream. Looking for more? Listen to my other show, Unpacked, a clinical dog training podcast co-hosted by Sailor Jerry the dog trainer and produced by Straight Up Dog Talk LLC.